Hey, what's up, guys? This is Mike Casu, and you're listening to the Brute Strength Podcast. This week, I interviewed Noah Ohlsen. We talk about the CrossFit Games, training, nutrition, misconceptions about him as a person, lots of very interesting stuff. And I got to tell you, before you start this, when we were about 5 minutes into recording, I got knocked off of the call, and then we got back on, and something happened on my side of the recording. So we had to go back and edit some of it, and it might come across sounding a little bit weird at times. It's missing a lot of my commentary when we were actually recording, so that's why it is going to sound a little bit weird, but all of the questions and answers are still there. And I think this is still going to be a really interesting interview for most of you guys to listen to. Last thing before we get started, if you're by your computer or phone, if you would go to brutestrengthtraining.com/podcast/reviews and leave me a review, I would love that. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the show.
Hey there, buddy boy.
What up, man? Appreciate this again.
Nothing much. Of course.
Thanks for carving out some time, man.
Yeah, buddy.
So I want to preface this first question with a statement. Early on, I, as well as I'm sure thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people were skeptical of you as an athlete. He's not big enough. He doesn't have the experience. He doesn't, and not knowing you said, he doesn't have the mental toughness, whatever. Over the past 2 years specifically, you have impressed me as much as anyone in the sport. And the one thing that really made me just a fan of yours in general is your reaction to that wheelbarrow event. So in the wheelbarrow event last year, for those of you who don't know, Noah, it fell over on him, and it cost him, probably 20 placements. But the way he handled it, and I saw a couple people drop it, and they were very flustered. They panicked. You were obviously upset about it, but there's no possible way you could have recovered faster. And you actually, it looked like that fueled you to go even faster on the rest of that workout. And then the rest of the weekend, you continue to step up your game. And you stayed level-headed and performed to the best of your ability. And that's one thing that a lot of athletes are not able to do. Once they have a performance like that, they kind of fall apart. So my first question to you, you're obviously very mentally tough. And now that I look back on it, even the first time, I think we competed together at the OC Throwdown. I was more towards the bottom of the list. You were up there.
That was way back.
Exactly. Looking back, you have always been very mentally tough. Very, very passionate. Where do you think that comes from? That calmness, that confidence, all of that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate all of that, first of all. Secondly, I don't know, it's funny that you kind of started off with different people's perceptions of me kind of coming up in the sport. And it's been really interesting for me to kind of adjust to all of that, because I feel like there were so many people that had so many different opinions of me, and I was very concerned with that. And it's not that I don't care what people think anymore. I definitely do. And I think I've kind of molded myself to be a little more, what would be the correct word? I don't know. I never want to offend or upset people. And when I started to realize that, I think some people, and I might be going kind of in a tangent or a different direction from where you are, but I got the cocky thing a lot from a lot of people when I was first starting to do relatively well. And I hated that, really. Guido kind of always taught me as I started getting better and better to stay humble. And that's been a really big thing for me to try to maintain and to project, is just kind of being humble in the face of what I guess you could call success in the sport. But kind of all that stuff aside, in terms of being mentally tough, I don't know. I came into this sport without really any intentions of competing, and I didn't even know what CrossFit was when I started. So I just jumped in and was kind of realizing how good some of these other people were in Guido and Chase Daniels and a couple other guys that I would train with, and I would just totally get rocked by them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they would crush me in anything that had any weight in it. I'd maybe hold my ground on some of the gymnastic cardio engine stuff at the beginning, but I think that at the beginning, just kind of constantly getting my ass kicked and never really being able to catch up, but always thinking like, man, someday I'm going to be as good as these guys. Someday I'm going to compete with them, and someday I want to be better than them. And I think that kind of helped me to just kind of keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And then there was never like a day that I realized like, oh man, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that still kind of is the same mentality that I have when not just in the gym at Peak with those guys. I'm at the CrossFit Games with all the guys that I watched videos of kind of when I first started, Jason Kalipa and Rich Froning, like that same feeling of these guys are better than me and I need to keep getting better and better and better so that I can be as good, if not better than them at some point.
Right.
In regards to the wheelbarrow thing, man, to be honest, I really appreciate the fact that you said it looked like I stayed level-headed, and I think I was able to maybe project that relatively well, but internally, I think I was freaking out a little bit, even if it was just for a second. Like,
sure.
That initial, as soon as I lifted it up off the ground, and it just, like, there was a banana peel under it, and it flipped right over.
Mm-hmm.
And my initial thought was, fuck, that was it. It's over.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
And just kind of scrambled in the moment to try to keep moving. And I kind of have that no quit mentality. And I think a lot of the lessons that I've learned through CrossFit have come from Guido, oddly enough, just because he was kind of my mentor when I first started. And I remember one day he went on a huge rant to me when he and I were kind of just alone and talking about how one of our coaches was doing a workout and it was really long, and he like quit in the middle of the workout because it was too long, gonna take him too much time, and it just like bothered Guido deep down inside. And I think from that day I've always been like, no matter what the circumstance, you cannot quit a workout. So that may have kicked into play a little bit in the back of my head at the games this year when that thing tipped over. And while I was able to semi-recover and get close to kind of finishing that, it kind of did stick with me for the rest of the weekend. It was a really hard mental battle to overcome that throughout the rest of that week competing. Unfortunately, I would go, I'll be really candid with you, that night I was just so emotional about that because I really was so invested in wanting to do well and trying to win the CrossFit Games that year that as soon as that happened, literally the moment that it happened, on the competition floor as I was reloading the sandbags, I kept thinking, I cannot wait to pack my bags at the end of today, get in the car with my girlfriend, and just cry. I just wanted to cry because, like, whatever it was, I just wanted to let it all out, get it out of my system. I knew I was really upset, and I wanted to say all the stupid shit I was thinking, like, it's over, I have no chance now, it's done, and get it out of my system and try to kind of reprogram from there. And I did just that, and we talked about it the whole ride home, and I kind of realized that same thing, like, never quit. It was a bad finish, but it's not going to ruin the entire weekend. I've got hopefully 10, 15 more events ahead of me that I can try to make a comeback on. So I did my best, still had some ups and downs throughout the weekend, and just got to try to let that go and come back and stay consistent.
You said something earlier about looking up to Guido that I just want to briefly touch on. What do you admire most about Guido?
So many things. I mean, he is a great athlete, and he competed at the games himself in 2012. And so I've always kind of looked up to him as a superior athlete and wanted to be able to compete at his level in the way that he did it. But on the same accord, I have kind of grown up around him as well. So I've witnessed how much of just a good person he is. He's just he's always smiling. He's always trying to help people, and he's now a great husband and a great father. So he's been a really good example for me overall, CrossFit and outside of CrossFit. So really grateful to have him in my life.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, what was your relationship like with your parents growing up? I just kind of want to paint a picture, dig a little bit deeper into how you became so confident / mentally tough. So how did they push you to be as successful as possible?
Yeah, of course. I had and have a great relationship with both of my parents. They are, what I'm happy to say, still married, and so we've just always had a really good family relationship overall. And I did grow up playing sports, flag football, t-ball, all that stuff when I was a little kid, and I remember them taking me to the games and supporting me then. And when I was about, I don't know, I would say around 10, I started playing lacrosse, and my dad is actually a two-time All-American at Brown University for lacrosse. So he kind of coached me and got me into that, and we would spend weekends together practicing, just he and I, and really good, cool bonding experience in that regard. So he's always kind of been like my athletic support and role model in terms of just being a good, successful athlete and like practicing skills and getting out there on the field and making sure that you're putting in time to shine on during game time. And then my mom, while she, as far as I knew, was never really very athletic, just always gave me like that unconditional support, was at all of my games, even if she had no idea what the hell I was doing. Like if I scored a goal in soccer, she thought it was a touchdown at first. Like she was just there cheering me on. And I'm pretty proud to say that now both my mom and dad have been doing CrossFit for, I want to say, almost 2 years, and they're just having a really good time getting healthy. Mom is just doing it for fun and like social interaction and enjoying it, and my dad actually is starting to kind of get a little competitive with it. He's 61, and I mean, he definitely needs some time to hone in all the skills and stuff, but he didn't sign up for the Open this year and was going to do them just for fun, and he sent me a score after the first week, and I think he did 186 reps in like the Masters RX division for his age group. And I checked at the time, 186 was first in the world. I mean, it was like Saturday morning still, so there was still a lot of time. But I was like, Dad, that's pretty awesome. I think you should sign up, and even if the rest of them don't go really well for you, like it'll give you a gauge on where you're at. So he's doing that, and he hasn't been as successful on 16.2 and 3 quite yet, but once I think he gets some of those skills down, it'd be pretty cool to compete out there, the father and son duo that I think some of the other guys have been able to do, like Zach Anderson and his dad, stuff like that.
Can you remember a time when you maybe didn't play a perfect game, you made some mistakes or something like that, or you got a bad grade on a test? What did your parents say to you in that kind of situation?
I can't say I remember specifically. There was no really extreme response that I would get to stuff like that. I would say that it was probably, as far as I can remember, just like a kind of classic parenting. Like if I didn't do well and it was something that I was upset about, just kind of support me and help me recover from that and do better next time. And if it was something where I, like you said, did something wrong in school or like got a bad grade, it would be like a simple reprimand, never anything like out of the ordinary, and just kind of, like I said, support me to do better next time.
At what point did you really start to believe that you could win the CrossFit Games? Not just make it to the CrossFit Games, but win.
But it's really funny you asked that. I was just talking to somebody about that today. It was a grandma, actually, of a kid that did fundamentals with us at our gym and went away to college and is doing the Open for the first time and is not doing as well as he wanted to. And I was kind of giving her some advice and telling him to be patient, and he just started and this and that. And she said, yeah, but he's so funny. Like he just wants to do it now. And I said, you know what? Honestly, that's exactly how I was when I started. I was working out with Guido and Chase and John Adams and all these guys that were competing at the games as an individual or on a team. And the first year that I was doing it, I was like max clean and jerk, maybe 185. And I was like, this year I'm going to the CrossFit Games. And I swear I remember at the, when the Open scores closed the final Monday of, I think it was 2011 was the first year. And I remember that I finished in like 140 something. And I remember texting Guido, and I was so bummed out. And I was like, dude, I can't believe I didn't make it, blah, blah, blah. And he said, dude, you've been doing this for like 6 months. What do you expect? And I remember saying like, but I want to go to the games this year. Like I wanted to make it this year. Just very unrealistic, but so optimistic. And I think every year after that, I was like, this year I want to go to the games this year. And in 2012, I finished like 28th at regionals, and I was like, man, that was my year. And I think it was probably the first day of regionals in 2013 where I finished day one in first place, and I was mind blown, and I was freaking out. I like checked my phone, refreshed it, and I was like, I'm in first place, and I really didn't expect it. And I think that was kind of when I was like, wow, this could actually happen. I could do it this year. Like I had always said it, but I don't know if I was ready for it or meant it. And I think that was when I kind of realized, like, holy shit, it's right here. It's in my grasp. I just got to hold on to it for 2 more days and I can do it. And that gave me the confidence. And unfortunately, I was unable to do that, but I still had that hit of like, all right, you can do that. You get yourself in that position and hold on to it, then you're there.
So I know you usually do a lot of non-CrossFit sanctioned events throughout the year, like WODapalooza, ECC, etc. Do you think there's any benefit to having a singular focus on the CrossFit Games like Froning has had in years past?
Yeah, potentially. I'm sure that you definitely stay a little more rested and healthy throughout the year if you're just doing open regionals CrossFit Games. But I think speaking to the years that I didn't make it to the games in 2011, 12, and 13, because I now had this extra time to fill, I did start off doing a ton of local competitions. And I think for me then it was to just gain that experience and that confidence of competing with other people and doing it in front of people. And I think that helped me a lot in the long run. And I guess that just kind of stuck with me, like I did WODapalooza for the past 5 years, and every year that it's rolled around, I'm like, yeah, I did it last year. Why would I not do it this year? So I maybe am getting a little bit more selective with the ones that I'll do. But I definitely still enjoy stepping onto the competition floor. And I think actually that it's also a really, really good gauge for us as athletes, kind of where we stand. Because if you go the whole year and it all comes down to like May, June, July is where you really get that validation of what your skill level is as an athlete. I think that can be kind of tough and you question yourself a lot. So if I'm able to compete in Dubai this year, not only was that an amazing experience and I was able to travel and do cool stuff like that, but I kind of got that gauge. Like I didn't know where I was. I've been doing my training all by myself and I don't know where I fell. And I go out to Dubai and I'm competing with Frederick Agidius, Kenny Leverich, a bunch of these other really good games athletes. And to be able to win something like that, it's kind of like, okay, I'm doing well. I am where I need to be. And then to step into WODapalooza a couple weeks later and win that as well, it was like, all right, that wasn't a fluke. I'm definitely on the right path. And I have the capacity to be able to just edge out some of these other guys and do the right things and make the right decisions to win competitions like this. And I think now that these competitions are getting bigger, like at WODapalooza, there were so many games athletes that you can almost equate it to a CrossFit Games experience and say, man, if I can win a competition going head to head with Aaron Hanna, Garrett Fisher, Nathan Bramlett, Cole Sager, Jacob Anderson, like all these amazing athletes, then I think it just gives you, like we talked about before, just that belief, like, all right, I am where I need to be. I can do this. Let's take it to the big show.
Over the past year and a half to 2 years, it looks like you've put on about 30 to 40 pounds. What does your diet look like to put on that amount of lean muscle in that kind of time?
Yeah, that's almost perfect. I started CrossFit in 2010, and I weighed about 155 pounds. I was in college then, and I was super into the whole bodybuilding thing and just being ripped and looking good and all that stuff. And but I was shredded though, 155 and shredded. But once I kind of started doing CrossFit and realizing that stuff didn't matter to me as much as the way I would perform, naturally just in needing to lift more weight to keep up with all those guys, I realized I needed to put on some weight myself. And the one thing that has kind of gone viral, I guess you could say, within our small community of CrossFit is that Guido, when I first started and needed to put on some weight, told me to drink a gallon of milk a day. And I stuck with it for, I'd say, a good like 4 or 5 months. And then I think I just got so sick of it. Old school, yeah, gallon of milk. It's actually a funny tie into that. I was in a fraternity at the same time, and they had one event where you and another kid in the fraternity get paired up, and you guys have to drink an 18 pack together. Like, it's a race between you and this kid. You and your partner are in a race against all the other pairs in the fraternity to who can kill the 18 pack the fastest. And I vowed out of 9 beers in place of a gallon of milk on that one night. And I'm pretty sure that within the hour that I finished the milk and my partner finished his beers, we were both puking out back. But yeah, so I started at 155. I now weigh like 185, 190. So it's been 35 pounds. And I'm sure some of it was going to be natural growth, like bone and muscle that I would have put on without having done CrossFit or really focused on that. But it definitely has helped a lot.
Do you take any supplements?
I have always taken supplements on and off. Not like crazy, though. Probably even less now than ever. But just the basics, like a protein shake after a workout here and there. I've gone in and out of doing creatine and stuff, and I think that definitely helps put on some of that lean muscle. But outside of that, nothing crazy. I'll do a pre-workout maybe once a week if I need some energy. But that's about it.
Like I mentioned earlier, you do quite a few events, competitions outside of the CrossFit Game season. How do you taper and recover for those multiple events throughout the year?
That's another funny question because it's something that I've kind of realized lately that as much as we as competitors love this stuff and look forward to it so much, more and more so lately, I get into a competition and honestly cannot wait till it's over, which I know probably sounds terrible, but I think there's just, as you get a little bit better, you put more expectation on yourself and there's a little more pressure, which makes it a little more stressful of a weekend, even when you're still trying to, like I said before, like put a smile on and have fun with it. It just gets to the point where it's a lot of pressure on yourself to perform every single event. And I'm in the middle of the day, I'm like, oh man, I want to get this one over with so I can go home and get in bed. And then I just want to be at the end of the weekend where I'm hopefully on the podium. And I kind of lost track of what the original question was as I kind of went on that rant. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. The question is about tapering and recovering.
Right.
What do the 3 days before and after these competitions look like for you?
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. In terms of the physical before and after competitions, I've always kind of done the normal, basic taper thing where leading up to a competition, you kind of work out like normal Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, take a rest day. Friday, move lightly just to keep your body feeling good, and then go all out for the weekend. This year, I think, was the first year that I had a lifting coach in Dave Spitz from Cal Strength, and he actually had me do some specific percentage work on my snatch and clean and jerk a couple nights, and actually the night right before the games, which was kind of new to me because I would always think like, hey, you want to rest and save it, but I was in the hotel gym snatching like 185. I mean, nothing crazy, but just still moving a barbell, keeping the CNS firing. In terms of mental preparation, I always lay in bed and will start to like think about what's coming up the next day. And when I'm able to kind of shut that off and get a good night's sleep, I think I tend to do a little better. But there are some nights every now and then, especially the first night before the competition starts, where you're just thinking about it so much and you don't know what to expect. And again, it's been a while since your last competition, so you don't know what to gauge. Like, am I ready? Where am I at? And I think once you get that first one out of the way, it's a little easier to breathe and to sleep at night and kind of get into the flow. And then once it's over, I mean, that definitely affects the mood too, the outcome of the competition. If I do well, I'm on top of the world and I feel amazing and we'll go party and everything's good. And if I do poorly, I'm probably not the funnest person to hang out with for a couple of days. You can ask my girlfriend. I feel bad for her on the couple of competitions back in the day where I haven't done as well as I wanted to, but she's good at consoling me and kind of bringing me back to earth and making me realize that that one weekend does not determine the rest of my life or even my competition life, you know.
How do you think about and approach the open?
This year, I think, was the first year that I kind of said, like, screw the open. I'm not even going to, like, think too much about it. I'm going to do well, obviously, but I don't want to think twice about it. I'm not going to stress it. I'm just going to do it, and whatever happens, happens. I feel pretty confident that I'll make it to regionals either way. And I kind of went about the first one that way and really didn't stress it. Like I said about the laying in bed at night before thinking about it, I got in bed and was able to just take a deep breath and smile and go to sleep and not really stress the workout. And I was able to do well, I think. I don't want to say by chance, but I did well and ended up finishing that first workout in second overall in the world. And then my perspective started to shift a little bit, and this is what happens, I would think, in every competition, where I was like, oh, wait a second, maybe I could kind of win the open, like that'd be kind of cool, maybe I should try that. And so I did the second workout and didn't do as well as I wanted to, and part of me was like, hey, remember, you don't care about this, like just let it go. You did well enough, you got 4 cleans at 315, that's a great score for you, and let it go and just go back to training. And there was another piece of me that was just eating myself all weekend. Like, you can finish that workout. You can do better than that. If you come in top 10 on that one, you could maybe still win the, like, I don't know. The win the open thing was just like in the back of my mind. And so I did end up doing that one again, and I did way, way better. I got all 7 cleans in 18:55, which I was surprised myself by. And you know what? I kind of had that mental battle of, am I wasting time? Is it worth my energy and effort? And having done it and having done better, I can say that I feel pretty confident in the fact that I did that. You know, it was 20 minutes of my day, big deal. I didn't get hurt. I got in the type of training that I think I probably needed to. You know, if you don't do well in an open workout, that's kind of a sign. So I think if you want to try it again, then you're just getting in a little bit of extra training in an area that you need it. I'd never thought about it really like that until this year. And same deal rolled around for week 3. I was like, oh, this is a good workout for me. I think I should do pretty well. Didn't do as well as I thought. And kind of on that one, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to, 7 minutes. It was nothing crazy. I didn't rip. Nothing got too sore. I'm just going to try that one again on Monday with a different strategy and see how it goes. And was able to do better then as well. So I kind of like to be like, it sounds cool if you're the one and done guy, you know, it's like, yeah, whatever, I'm just focusing on the games, and I've always wanted to be that guy. But this year, maybe whatever, who knows, if I am able to kind of keep myself up there and have a shot at winning the open, I think that'd be a cool little accomplishment. I know it really doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but it'd just be something to say that you did in the history of your career. You know, I think the only people that have ever done that are Rich, Dan, and Matt, or maybe Josh Bridges did back in the day. I don't know, but not many people have done it. So if it's within my grasp, I'm gonna try to do it. It's only 2 more weeks, so we'll see what happens.
What does the week and month after the CrossFit Games look like for you each year?
Definitely a lot of chill time. I know when the games were over this year, I was wrecked, first of all. I think everybody was super physically beat. And so I thought on Sunday night, I was like, man, I just want to spend all of Monday in bed. And oddly enough, I woke up kind of early and was like fidgety in bed. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to get up. And we just hung out. We went to the beach, my girlfriend and I, and a friend of ours, and just kind of take a week away from training, I think both physically and mentally, to recoup a little bit and get a little bit of real life time in, not being an athlete. Oddly enough, this year, Kenny Leverich called me on, I think it was like the Wednesday after the games. And he's like, bro, what's up? And I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? Just hanging out. And he's like, dude, want to do this competition with me this weekend? And I was like, absolutely not. No way do I want to do a competition this weekend. And he's like, yeah, but it's for $100,000. And I was like, all right, I'm in. Sign me up. So we ended up doing the F45 fitness challenge or something like that. It was on the beach in California. It was like a totally different style, and we did win. Yeah, so it was like teams of 4, and we split $100,000. So I made $25,000 for one weekend. I was still pretty wrecked. That was the first exercising I had done since the Sunday of the games. It was that Friday. It was literally the next Friday. We had to do I really didn't want to do it, but just kind of nutted up and went for it, and it paid off. So usually I'd just be chilling, but something like that to kind of slowly get back into it is always a good way to go and just have fun with it. I think that's probably a good mental break, is to maybe get off your normal program for a little while, either do some class WODs or just do some strength training, or jump around some of the online programs for a little bit, just to give yourself that freedom to do whatever and not feel tied down or locked in where you're at. And then once it's really competition time and you want that structure back, to implement that.
In the late fall, when the CrossFit Games hype is kind of at the low for the year, less going on social media and the CrossFit Games website and stuff like that, how do you stay motivated? Do you ever deal with any kind of self-doubt, boredom, etc.? What kind of things do you do to stay motivated?
You know, it's funny. I think those are actually the best, most fun times. And I've realized that lately as well, that people have said the training is the hard part, and that's when you bleed and suffer, and then the competition is where you just go have fun and do what you've been training for this whole time. And I feel like it's honestly quite the contrary. I don't know if that's just for me, but I have so much fun in the gym training, in my environment, broing out whatever music I want, listening to that, hanging out with my friends, doing our thing. And then when it's competition time, I know that's when it's very serious. So I think the downtime, like you're saying, the heat of training in the off season, I think that's the most fun. That's when you're totally doing your thing and just getting into the flow. And it's okay if you get wrecked by a workout, because you got nothing to compete in the next month or so. So you can do 200 wall balls in a day and not have to worry about what you're doing on Friday. So I don't know. I think that stuff's fun.
If you weren't doing CrossFit right now, what do you think you'd be doing?
Man, I have no idea, and I'm glad that I don't even have to think about it. I mean, I have a master's degree in strength and conditioning. I went to UM and got an undergrad in kinesiology and the master's in strength and conditioning, thinking that I would be a coach of some sort. And I mean, I am now. I'm a CrossFit coach, but that's pretty different from the way they teach at the university level. But, in high school and a little bit of college, when I first started getting into fitness, was really into the men's health type of fitness. And I thought that I might want to be a writer for Men's Health, or a blogger of some sort. That was when that stuff was kind of blown up. I don't know if you've ever read Tim Ferriss books and stuff. So I was in the heat of all that, and I thought that's what I wanted to do, write a book or be one of those guys, just have a blog that a ton of people followed. And it kind of all transitioned to now having an Instagram that I guess a bunch of people follow, and doing fun stuff every day. So I'm hashtag blessed that I'm able to get in here and just throw down and have a lot of fun doing what I love. And I know that's not going to last forever. So once my body can't keep up with what I want to do competition wise, I'll start making some better decisions, some business stuff. I mean, I'm really trying to set myself up now so that when that is the case, that I've got stuff to just fall right into. I'm actually a partner in a management group with my friend Bijan Haravi down here, who's my manager, and hoping that the sport of CrossFit continues to grow, and people need people like Bijan to do the things that he does for me and take care of all the endorsements and business side of things. we'll be able to offer those services, and I'll be able to kind of help guide people that were in my position when I started to kind of give them what they need to get to where I've gotten. I think that could be a cool route to take.
If you win the CrossFit Games this year, what will be the first selfish purchase you make?
Oh, man. Well, I don't have anything right off the top of my head. I'm actually about to, and knock on wood, hopefully this doesn't jinx it, we're talking to the local Range Rover dealership down here in Miami, so I might be getting hooked up with a Range. So I wouldn't need to make the car purchase if I were to win. Could be a house. My girlfriend Joanne and I, with our big golden puppy Max, just got our first apartment down here, and it's really nice, but I think that would be probably my first big investment, would be to get us a home, a good place to live and start to grow as a family and stuff. I know that's not like the exciting answer, like I'm going to go buy a yacht or anything. Maybe take a nice vacation. That could be a cool way to spend some money, get out of the country and just kind of zone out, get away from the whole CrossFit thing. Like we said, after the games, give yourself a 1 week break.
Well, all right, man, let's wrap it up. Where can people find you and keep up with what you've got going on?
Well, like I said, the Open is 3 weeks deep. If you guys are keeping track of that, which I'm sure anybody listening to this podcast is, just check me out on the leaderboard. I'm going to try to stay up near the top for the next 2 weeks. And then we've got regionals we're the Atlantic Super Region, so that'll be going down in May in Atlanta. Get to go head-to-head with the fittest man on earth, Ben Smith. That should be fun. And if you guys want to see my day-to-day happenings, check it out on Instagram at NOHLSEN. And then even cooler profile than mine is my dog's. Check out Maximus Ohlsen. He's the guy.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, buddy.
Appreciate you making some time to do this. We'll talk soon.
Of course, man. It was good chatting with you.